You've not filmed me.
Yeah. He's asking a question of me.
Yes, Quintin, can you just tell us how the experience on the swimboard compared to, say, how you normally would get to a dive site, which can be quite a distance away, 400 meters often you're taking your students, so it's a challenge with fatigue and all those kind of things, and just how you think it could be beneficial as far as the experience going out to the site and how your students will benefit from it.
Yeah, so normally what we would do is we would just be swimming out to the dive site, just kind of like snorkeling, just kicking out to the dive site. And I think using the board and what we've just looked, or what we when we did the kind of like test with swimming a certain distance with a board, that we kind of like discovered was that it definitely takes a lot less effort when you're using the swimboard as opposed to just normal snorkeling. So what that means is, one, when you're normally out in the water and you're diving, you kind of like, you're in the water, you're getting wet, you're swimming. With this, it definitely makes it a lot easier to get out to the dive site. Not just that, you're not getting out to the dive site as tired as what you would if you normally would be swimming out just snorkeling. The other thing potential could be for that is, because it doesn't tire you out as much, you could potentially go out further and start exploring further on what you normally would be just swimming out, that you normally would be doing.
You see it as an instructor having a benefit, because obviously when you're on the board, you can now have conversations with your students. So that journey from the beach to the site, do you find it could be a way of actually teaching along the way, or creating more of a social component to the diving instruction?
For sure. When you dive, swimming out to the dive site, you have your face is in the water, snorkel in your mouth, and you're swimming out, and every once in a while you look to see where you're going to make sure that you're going in the right direction. At least with this, you always where you're going, you can talk to each other. So there's definitely a much, a different interaction that you have than just, having your face in the water.
And the training in the pool, when you're doing the dynamic exercises, how do you find that? Trying to keep up? Would you travel faster, keeping up with a faster swimmer?
So normally there's different ways of doing it. Either just swimming on the surface and just kind of like watching, your buddy that's doing their attempt. Or what you could do is you could be using a kickboard. That's another way of doing this. If you already have the swimboard and you use it.
He's too scared, so I'll have to take you.
Get out of here, kid.
That's gonna have to get cut. If you have the swimboard and you use that, it definitely is a tool that you could use in the pool that makes it easier. One, for you as the person that's swimming on the surface, it definitely gives you support, so that means that you can also swim a little bit faster than what you normally would be able to do. Plus then, should your buddy need it, you have something that you can give to them as support once they come up after they dive, if they didn't end at the end of the pool.
Awesome. Well, thanks, man. It was a great day with you today.
Also, I know you have a bit of quite a big background in the luxury yacht industry in the Mediterranean, the Balearics, I believe. Do you see a relevance as far as, first of all, safety on the boats, and then also offering the guests another experience to go to explore the islands and get more out of their trips?
For sure. I mean, the toy that is probably on every single super yacht that's out there is a sea bob, and it's fun for about 5 minutes, and then that's where it stops for me personally. I just see with this one, having these instead of, so these are kind of like the self-propelled sea bobs, if you want to call it that, going out and having fun for a lot longer. The sea bob does tire you out quite a lot because you're like holding on to something, you're being dragged, so it does tire you out. Where with this, you can stop, you can kind of like float, you can relax a little bit more, enjoy your experience a little bit a little bit more. So definitely from that point, I think that there is something on super yachts that could be used, and then also from a safety point, I can see it being on the back of every swim platform at the back as something that's there, part of all the other, life-saving equipment that you have. Should there be a problem, the crew member can grab it, jump into the water, and they're right there to help the someone who might need it.
What are your thoughts on the growth of the diving industry? I mean, some people have called diving the new yoga. What are your thoughts on the growth of free diving and skin diving, and how that can relate to what happened with yoga?
So back in the 90s when I started diving and when I got into scuba diving, it was scuba diving was at its heyday. So there was a huge spike in growth that you could see in the 90s. And then, at some point it started tapering off. And then with yoga and more kind of like a mindfulness, lifestyle that we're starting to live, we started seeing, freediving coming onto the scene and starting to grow. And it's definitely growing. Everything shows that it's a sport that's growing, and it's growing quite rapidly. And personally, I think, in the 2020s will probably be the same kind of like growth that scuba diving saw in the 1990s. We'll see the same thing now with that.
What do you think the linkage is between yoga and the freediving? Is the mindfulness, slowing down the breathing, getting to a state of zen? That sort of...
Yeah, that too. But the thing is, I personally think that people are starting to look at be more in touch with nature rather than being apart from it. Being kind of like being using something that it enables us to go into this environment, kind of like being part of it, and for it to be a lot more natural. Scuba diving definitely has its place, but freediving obviously gives you a totally different experience when you're doing it, because you become one with nature rather than being kind of like an outsider, being in this strange world. So that's one. The other thing is obviously for freediving, one of the big things, if you want to stay under the water for longer, it's simple. It's how relaxed and how calm you can be is going to determine how long you can stay under the water. So the yoga aspect definitely brings in that kind of like mindfulness, being able to relax, being able to be calm, and then obviously being able to stay down underwater for longer.
Awesome, man. Well, thanks for a great day out in the pool in West Van today.
Well, thank you.
See you soon.
Good job, man.